Sharing facts on drugs? What are the solutions? How do we find help, even for those affected? Every Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Together, let's break the circle, kick out drugs, save our youths to save our nation. This is an initiative of the Patriot Media Educational Foundation.
Light TV, you have what they call, or even movies. You have the Nigerian film censors board. They used to have what they call parental guidance, that PG, for people who are of certain age and not to watch certain things on television. And even as a parent, you also have some kind of lock that you can actually use to lock certain channels that the children will not have access to them. So the same thing should also be applicable to the social media, especially for children who are underaged. But the way the world is today, in the digitization, civilization, exposure, and everybody wants to belong. And one of the ways people believe that you can belong is that you must own a smartphone, that you must have access to the internet, you have different accounts on this, on that, different platforms, different social media platforms, you have account there, and all sort of things happen there. And in these platforms, a lot of things happen there. So for kids who are underaged, who haven't actually found their feet in terms of taking the right decision for their life, I think it's important that parents must watch them to see what they are doing.
Actually, really, there are a number of ways that the social media can impact substance abuse. Like social media can expose people to drugs or alcohol, and social media addiction itself and social isolation, which can all lead to an increase in substance abuse. People like to post things that make them people don't post negative things. Sometimes you see people posting they're taking alcohol, they're doing drugs, especially celebrities, and lots of young people who follow these persons think that this is the best thing to do, and these people don't show the other side, where they have withdrawal syndromes, they have nausea, vomiting, all those hangovers from drugs. So you see people partying and all kinds of alcohol and drugs, and young people think that this is the right thing to do, but it is not. But John, let's look at the availability of these substances on the streets of Nigeria and the FCT as a whole. Where drugs are sold are just they are there. People know them. The security agencies know them. But still, these drugs are just moving around and people can access them. I don't know why this is so.
Honestly, it's something that is a phenomenon. You might call it a social phenomenon, in the sense that we know that we have the agencies who are responsible for what I might use the word interdiction of these drugs, even before they come into the communities. You have these agents on the streets, you have them across the highways in Nigeria, having checkpoints all over the place, and the aim is to make sure that these drugs are not couriered from one point to another point in the country in order to save the society. However, these drugs, found their ways into the society and into the communities, all over the place. So you just wonder, how come that these things are like this? How come that these drugs are finding their way into these communities all over the place? If you use the FCT, for instance, if you go to places like Area 1, for example, you go to all the popular motor parks in Jabi and all over the place, Bega Junction, you're in the Mabuchi area and some other hotspots somewhere around Area 11 and so many other places, you will see people openly peddling and selling drugs, mostly this cannabis, marijuana. You see people also smoking drugs. smoking marijuana and using other drugs openly without even being afraid, that me. So it's like they have grown, their boldness has actually grown beyond what one can actually understand in the face of a lot of government law enforcement agents going around, going everywhere, looking for those people who are into drugs to arrest them. Yet, even in the midst of this, you have these peddlers and these users using them brazenly, openly, without even being afraid of anything, without even being afraid of arrest. And again, there are also, like some of the places I've mentioned in the city here and even beyond, many a times these particular spots are known to law enforcement agencies. They are known to them. They go there all the time. They go there all the time. See, tomorrow they will go to that place. There is a raid. After this raid, tomorrow these people return to the same spot and continue what they are doing. Tomorrow again, you see the law enforcement agents. They go back again there to raid again. After raiding, they are back again. So you see, is it that it's going to be a continuous, unending vicious circle where there is no solution? Everybody has known over the years that across the motor parks in Abuja here, there are these hotspots I've just mentioned, like Area 1, Banners, and the rest of them, Jabi Park. These people are there. If you go to Area 1 as we speak now, you see those boys who are doing Agbero and touting, they are smoking, they are calling passengers, and just not too far away from there, you see some law enforcement agents standing, and so and it's something that is terrible, because the way it disfigures the social aesthetics, of the city. So sometimes I wonder if, for example, some foreigners, who enter into the FCT and they drive through some of these spots and they see these people openly, what are they going to be thinking about Nigeria?
It's so sad. Like one of the callers said the other time that what he found very interesting was that some of these hotspots, allegedly, that even security agents, some uniform officers also go there, to also patronize some of these drugs. And it's unfortunate. I had someone who came out from a prison not too long ago, and he was telling me, he said, while I was there, that in the compound in the prison, that prisoners were smoking weed.
Yes.
In the prisons. So you're wondering, how did these drugs get to them in the prison? It's a very complex thing.
Just like you use the word allegedly, but everybody knows that it's a systemic problem. It's a systemic problem. These things happen. They happen. Some of these things are smuggled into places where they are not supposed to be, and some of the inmates, you'll be surprised, these things happen. But it's just that people don't have that kind of time to go do all these kind of investigations. I think someone actually at the time got into some of the prisons, but his own focus was on a different type of corruption. But someone could actually could also do such a thing and go inside the prisons to actually come out with raw facts, of these happenings, so that people, the authorities, will know about it, because there is a serious systemic problem whereby it is alleged, and because they say there's no smoke without fire.
Yes.
So when people keep on alleging that these things happen, with me somehow, somewhere, it's a fact.
Something's happening.
It's a fact. And like, you're talking about even the law enforcement agents themselves going to make use of some of these things, going to this, some of these places, like they call them bunks. They are not hidden. Some of them are open. They are open. They are not hidden. They are open, and people who are around, they watch, they observe what's going on there, and it becomes a part of life, or a way of life. But what is my own concern is, why do you have these spots in the city center, and they came in, they have been there over the years. Once in a while you go and you raid, you disperse them. Within the next few minutes they are back and they continue their business as usual, and life goes on. Why can't there be a permanent solution to getting these spots out of the system?
That's what I'm thinking now, that probably instead of raiding and arresting, should we take enlightenment programs to these spots? Probably we need to, this agencies need to go and be enlightening, give them some kind of campaigns. Instead of running after them, let's talk to them about the dangers of these drugs and why they should not. Probably we can have one or two persons realizing the dangers and changing, but I know it has gotten so deep. But then the availability is very key. Like the passage of death penalty for manufacturers of illicit drugs has elicited so many reactions from different persons. I heard some people saying, is that a big thing? Are we talking about drugs? We were talking about high cost of living water. But I think they don't know the implications of what we're talking about.
Yes, I know drug abuse, drug peddling, and so many other things associated with the use of illicit drug in any nation is something that every government, takes very, very, very seriously. No government jokes.
Okay,
with,
we have a caller. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's the name? Where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Princeton, and I'm calling you from Gwagwalada Area Council.
Go ahead, please. Thanks for calling. Yes.
Yes, when it comes to the issue of drugs, well, like the person in the studio is saying, permit me, I don't know his name. Drug is something we can't negotiate. Because any nation or any society that is free from drugs, definitely you would see the returns on individuals and how every other thing goes on in that country.
Right.
Why people will be... Sorry?
Go ahead, please. We can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Like you talked about sensitization of illicit drug use. Yes, I would want to contribute that if there is a way the government can sponsor individuals to put up rehabilitation centers, because this is not a job for government alone, but if they can encourage people and give them license to run such agencies, I believe that would help to curb the effect of this drug spread. Then secondly, the truth is just that youths are not aware of the effect of drugs. Because one cannot go into crime without the use of drugs, because drugs help to boost their morals to actually perpetrate those crimes. You understand? And the effects of drugs are so much you can't list them.
Yes.
You understand? Talking about debt, talking about unemployment, talking about addiction and dependence, talking about poverty, talking about the withdrawal symptoms, which is even very difficult to endure. Not everybody has the grace to endure such. You understand? Then when you talk about the drug reduction unit, which I was talking about, for them to give people licenses to run, what the drug reduction unit would do is that they help to reintegrate such people who are under this drug dependence back into the society, giving them an opportunity to acquire skills and vocation and training while they are still in custody. Custody now doesn't mean that they are being arrested, no, but they are undergoing reformation.
Yes.
Then talking about death penalty, sorry, I just have to summarize the
have to be penalty. Yes.
We like the offenders. You see, the drug dealers, those bringing in the drugs, I support the idea for them to be executed. Then you talk about those selling the drugs and buying the drugs, because there's a chain. There's a chain in which this whole thing runs through. You from the dealers, you now have those that buys and resells. And talking about those that operate these bunks, you understand, the same penalty should be melted upon them.
Okay.
You understand? When they go around, you catch people selling these things. And lastly, I'm talking about law enforcement agents. I mean officers, such as the policemen, such as soldiers, such as NDLE officials that even goes about to collect returns. There is what they call returns. They collect from these bank operators. That is why you see when they are arrested, after some time they get back. Even to the point that when they are being when they are being prosecuted, some of these officers go to the extent of arranging lawyers that can defend them in court.
Wow.
I'm telling you the truth, and that is there is no fear. That is why there is no control to these things. But if the government can really target such individuals doing this, both the law enforcement agents, such as the police, like the uniform men, like I have stated, you pass the same decree, the same law, and then eliminating anybody who.
Okay. Thank you very much for that quality contribution, John. That was a very great one. So, do you think that this penalty will stop the manufacturers?
No, it's not going to stop them.
Okay.
I mean, it must also be put on record that it's not yet a law.
Yes.
It's still going
The
legislative
bill, yes.
process. The Senate has actually concluded their own arm of it, or their own part of it, which is the third reading is gone. And you see how we are still waiting for the House of Representatives,
the House of Rep, and then the signing by the president.
Where there's a lot of mobilization against it, and that I don't know how it's going to pan out. But what I know is that beyond the issue of deterrent, which is the death penalty, before now is what is the current law now is life sentence, the highest you can ever get out of it. But if that law passes, then the death sentence will come from manufacturers and all those who peddle drugs, traffickers and dealers. And then for those who use the drugs, 15 years. That's what the bill is the amendment is trying to propose. However, beyond that, I can also tell you that in all the countries, in like most of the countries in Southeast Asia, like Singapore, Malaysia, and the rest of them, they have this death penalty. In fact, they have it on their visa. If you're traveling to these countries, it's written on red ink that if you're caught with drugs in any of these countries, it's like almost automatic death penalty. But has the death penalty stopped the use of drugs to manufacture around the world? The answer is no.
It's no.
Even today in this country,